Well, hey everyone, today we are doing a major vinyl giveaway and we're doing it through our Patreon page, patreon.com/vinyl guide. Patreon.com/vinyl guide is the place that you can help support this show, get extra content, extended interviews, early access to episodes, commercial-free interviews, plus this week our top tier and long-term supporters are getting a free vinyl copy of Sleepersound's new album, Idle Voices. It's our way of saying thank you for your support at patreon.com/vinyl guide. All patrons are getting a digital version, so patrons, check your email. Some of you are getting vinyl versions shipped directly to your front door. If you're not a Patreon supporter, I suggest doing it now because we're going to start doing fun things like this more often. Patreon.com/vinyl guide. Get the extras, get the goodies, and enjoy the rest of the show. Now, this week on the Vinyl Guide, we are welcoming Dan Niedziejko of the band Sleepersound. And I gotta tell you, Sleepersound is a band that may be new to most of you, but hopefully not for long, as I find their music incredibly captivating. Sleepersound is a self-finance band who have made the commitment to put their music on vinyl, now multiple times. And their new album, Idle Voices, was my entry point to their work. From all understandings, their live shows are spectacular. Sleepersound's self-produced video content for online and live shows. They certainly invest and work really hard to build an audience. And today we're going to talk to Dan about that process, how an independent band manages to keep the fires lit and remain creative through the recent years and continue to build their audience. I encourage everyone to check them out now, sleepersound.com, sleepersound.bandcamp.com, or search out Sleepersound on all social media. Also check out the new Sleepersound digital-only Silence Otherwise remix, which you can hear in this episode page or at sleepersound.bandcamp.com. And as mentioned, we are doing a giveaway. All patreon.com/vinyl guide members will get a copy of Sleepersound's Idle Voices album. So check your emails. Many of the top tier and long-term show patrons will receive a physical vinyl copy of the album too. Now, we partnered up with the Sleepersound band to do this giveaway. They're very excited for you all to hear their music. I am too, because I really enjoy this band, and I encourage everyone to search up Sleepersound on any streaming service, have a listen, and hopefully grab one of their physical products from sleepersound.com. This giveaway is our way of saying thank you for all your support, and to all you civilians who aren't yet Patreon supporters, it ain't too late to join. Enjoy the benefits and set yourself up for future fun giveaways like this. Patreon.com/vinyl guide, where you get to hear the rest of the show. And with that, let's turn our ears towards Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and hear from Dan Niedziejko of the band Sleepersound. Dan, thanks for taking the time. Look, I gotta say, I probably get about 12, maybe 15 records a week. You know, some digital, a lot of them physical, and there's almost very little time to really listen to all of them even once. But I got a tip from a mutual friend of ours, Chris, who said, you really need to check out Sleepersound. And so I've got a copy of Idle Voices, and this has been on quite heavy rotation in my house. I really, really am enjoying this, and I wanted the opportunity to talk to you about it. First off, to let you know I appreciate it and thank you for making that. I'm really interested to understand a little bit more about the band, about yourself, about the process, and in particular, kind of what is the path that Sleepersound is looking to continue to follow. Okay. So maybe let's start at the beginning. Like, Sleepersound is your creation. Is that fair?
No, not entirely. I wouldn't say that. It's pretty much a partnership between all the members in the band. I would say I do a lot of the recording and a lot of the production and that. We all do that a little bit. Mm-hmm. But, it's something I really enjoy and I've really gravitated to doing. I'd say in the past, 15 years, I've gotten more heavily into the recording aspect of music. Although I'm a drummer, So I record all my own bands. I know maybe that's kind of a no-no. A lot of engineers would be like, you should never be your own lawyer. You should never be your own, producer or your own engineer. But honestly, I know what they're saying, and I've been in bands where I don't do all the recording, and I still am in a band that doesn't do that, because I have very gifted friends that are actual full-fledged recording engineers, and IATSE soundmen, and union card carrying experts, right? So I've learned from them, among other people, but I guess I would say that it's fully a collaboration. Sleepersound really is. We all play a little bit different roles within the band, but we're all bringing something to the table. So it's kind of an unusual band in that it's one of the few bands that I can honestly say, like, I think as a result of that kind of mindset and being very unselfish about it, we've really gotten better a lot faster, maybe than, and we've all been in a lot of bands before, like nothing very terribly remarkable outside of Milwaukee, right? But regionally, we've been in bands that have toured Chicago, Milwaukee, Midwest, things like that, got a little attention, but never major record deals or anything like that. But over the course of time, we've all met each other. Sleepersound probably is about 5 years old now. And since we've all had a lot of experience, good bunch of guys to play with, very gifted, good songwriters, people bring ideas to the table, and being kind of in a setup like this where we can record all of our practices, all of our performance, we really can write music pretty effectively because we're always listening, critiquing, pulling things out that sound good, ideas. If we have an idea, we get it down right away. Okay. So that's the beauty of that.
So what's the story of Sleepersound? How did it come together?
Yeah, so I was in a band at the time that I thought was pretty promising, but as many bands do, kind of came to a bit of an impasse, and that was a focus area of mine, and broke up. And so basically, I sounds kind of crazy, but I was looking in Craigslist and found an ad for now these can be wildly unsuccessul, Craigslist listings.
You're lucky you didn't end up in some sort of weird pit with someone
right. We had a couple of close calls when we were trying to complete the lineup, but I mean, so I found Dave D'Antonio. He had just moved here from St. Louis by way of Chicago and moved to Milwaukee to take on a job. And then he had been in different parts of the world. Prior to that, he had spent a lot of time in Italy. So he's fully, he's actually speaks like 3-4 languages now. But his family's in Italy. So he'd come back, and he's in education. So he was taking a job here. I met him, and we had a lot of overlap in what the kind of music we liked. And it was one of those ads where, well, this is a little unusual. It's not like I want to play classic rock or be in a cover band, So we got together, and that all worked very well. And then he had been looking for a while and kind of collected names, and we'd all been through a few other people, and then we kind of gravitated to the people that we have today. So we have Mike and Kenny and Steven, and they all, in one way or another, I think we had all found each other on Craigslist one way or another, which is really strange. But it took a bit of doing to get to this grouping, we say. And then Steven, who's our video artist, he's a good friend of Mike's, and he just had been around, so now, it just worked out.
A video artist, I noticed his Steven is credited as visuals. So as a band, so it's a 4-piece that makes the music, and then you have one individual who looks after the visual aspect of it. Now that's rather unique. Tell me about how that works.
Well, we always felt our music lent itself to color and sound and visuals motion, like we're always thinking about how the music, we're thinking about it in a kinetic kind of way. I don't know if that even makes any sense, but it was natural for us to say, can we put some images to this? And then we started to do it ourselves a little bit. And that, we can't be good at everything, right? So we found that we had a friend who was a photographer and a videographer, and he was willing to give it a try because, like right now, there's really not a lot of money in any of this, right? We're not paying each other. There's not a huge amount of money. We're a small, tiny band. So he was willing to get into it. And so we all kind of like began to get better at our technology, And so we look at it like we want to keep growing that, and we want to have, Stephen be a part of that and grow with the band and make it an immersive kind of situation. So we want to keep doing that. And we're looking at it like it's as important as anything else. So, he's a member.
That's really interesting to hear, because I know a lot of bands have these visual identities, these thumbprints. We'll go to the large end of the spectrum with Tool, their relationship with Alex Gray, who does majority of their visuals. So to be able to have someone in the group who focuses in on that, I would imagine also provides a significant role in a live situation with how the band also connects with the audience. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And it's getting more difficult because I guess from a situation where we have to consider whenever we're playing somewhere, is it a place that can accommodate projecting, a large screen, have the band, because some of the tiny clubs we've played, it's almost comical, like just getting we're a band that has a lot of gear. We have a lot of gear. Like what you hear on the record is pretty much what we sound like live. And the way we do that is that everybody plays multiple instruments and alternates between them and, performs on them. So, the days of being in a club that has a stage that's like 5x5 and, everybody's like tearing down and setting up and nobody's sharing a back line or anything like that. We can't even really do shows like that anymore because it just would be a technical nightmare. We have too much gear, it'd be like, when they say like, Stonehenge in
Spinal Tap.
Spinal Tap, exactly. I'm just thinking the comedy of all this, right? So we have to concentrate on clubs that we can actually work in and can accommodate us. Now, so I don't know if that really answered your question.
But having that visual, then that element, you now have to really make room. So let me ask you this. Stephen, he's the visuals guy. What does he do during band practice?
Well, he's not always at band practice, to be quite honest. We'll send him the audio files after band practice, and if we have ideas that we need him to work on, because I think it would drive him nuts, because honestly, there are times in band practice when we're playing one section of a song for like an hour, and no, the visual guy isn't going to want to sit and listen to that.
So for this album, for Idle Sounds, Stephen made the artwork. Was that his contribution?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, that's not. We had an artist do that cover.
All right.
So he's not a painter. He's purely a video and photography
guy. All right. I think Steve needs a couple more jobs. I think we need to get him.
Yeah, I know. I was going to say we need to find an artist we really like and make them a member too. Then just get everybody in there. So make it a collective,
So are there videos, some live videos that have the visuals incorporated that people who aren't able to see the band right now can enjoy? Yeah.
Yeah. On YouTube, what we've done is during COVID, we did a number of like lockdown kind of videos where we played live in our space. And then we had basically Stephen project and intermingle some of the visuals into our live performance. And theoretically, that's what you would have seen on a big screen projecting behind us or on top of us. we haven't had a lot of opportunity, say in the past year, to do a big enough live show where we can video the video and us, kind of a live, truly live kind of thing. So we have to get that technology kind of sorted out and get enough people involved so we can do that. Right now, our video guy is busy projecting video. He can't really film it too while he's like, because what he does, it's really interesting, is how you have a mixing board. He actually mixes in the video clips, brings them in and out, speeds them up, slows them down, does all that. So he can't be running another camera. You know what I mean?
You need a cinematographer in the band now.
Exactly. Yeah.
So the music, I've heard it being described as cinematic. I would agree with that. Hypnotic, lots of dynamics. It's certainly untraditional. There's no kind of verse, chorus, verse. How is the songwriting done in Sleepersound?
So usually what'll happen is someone will have a kernel of an idea, and then we'll kind of all collaborate and work on it. And there'll be some input around structure. Sometimes there are songs that write themselves, and then there are songs that take a long time for whatever reason. I don't know. It's kind of funny. We'll wind up writing a song for a year and then come back and listen to old recordings of it and then say, we should have just done it this way, the way we did it originally on day one of the song. We've done that a few times. So we're getting better at not working something to death or having more patience with a song.
Right.
But it's very much a collaborative thing. And some songs come a little more fully formed than others, maybe, but they all go through a process of filtering and a kind of like deconstruction and reconstruction a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's no formula to it. What's weird too about this band is we're not like, I've been in bands where you think about the kind of music you play and you want it to sort of fit squarely into that kind of tradition or something, shall you say. But what we're doing, we haven't really thought about that. Like any similarities, I think I can honestly say we haven't consciously thought, hey, let's sound like, this song should be like Galaxy 500 or something, or we should make this song sound, like Sigur Rós or something like that. It's more like it just happens.
I think that's always the start of a downfall when you try to sound like someone else. There's already a Sigur Rós, right? You want to sound like, you don't want to sound like the second Sigur Rós. You want to sound like the first Sleepersound. So how do you rid yourselves of those influences and that desire to want to kind of ride those lines?
Oh, that's funny that you should say that, because there have been times where we've self-edited ourselves and, said, that sounds like X. And then we'll go and listen to it and say, yeah, man, we can't do that. That just sounds like we just lifted that or something, so we do self-edit in that regard. It doesn't happen often. And I don't know, maybe that's to say we just, I think we're fully aware of the things that influence us and we try not to be carbon copies of anything.
That's interesting, because that forces you creatively to push yourselves beyond that boundary. You would feel comfortable, like, oh, I like the band Television, and this part of the song sounds like Television. That feels good to me, but that's not acceptable in your model.
Not entirely, no. I mean, I'm not gonna tell you that we completely rip everything out if there's a hint of influence. Right? You can't do that. I mean, you wouldn't be playing rock and roll if you did that. Right. I mean, we go back to the debate of who played the first rock and roll record and who was the genesis of everything, right? So everything's been done.
But you're aware of it and you're able to then just kind of push yourself. So that's what, and maybe that's what part of what I'm picking up when I listen to Sleepersound. It's very different. It's very new. It's refreshing for me. But like, how do you know when to stop tinkering? If you're creating this whole different style and language, how do you know when it's like, okay, that's how we want it to represent? It's baked now. It's done.
It's usually a matter of if we're taking too much time with it. And I'm going to just say, I think sometimes it's been me to say, hey man, we got to be done with this. Like, and I will say we worked with Kramer Kramer, who's done our mastering, and Kramer from Shimmy Disc. Really an inspirational guy to me. I like his body of work. But I remember early on when I've worked with him over the years, not just in this band, but he's always, his phrase is, Dan, don't crawl up your own ass, and so it's pretty much like, don't, some of the best records were made fast, very fast, and have mistakes. In fact, some of the greatest albums, you can think of, if you listen close, there's little flubs, there's little issues, there's little mistakes all over them. One of the things we try to do is we try to play our music live together in the same room. We're not typically single tracking everything. So I would say 90% of the song is done live together. And sometimes, we do overdub the vocals
right
when we're recording a record, but we're trying to get back to that whole performance ethic. Like if you can't perform it live, you shouldn't put it on the record, really. So when you think about that, like a lot of early great records, the bands went in, they were all in the same room, they played it, and here it is, and I kind of look at it like, and I think we all believe this too, like if you're a good band, you should be able to replicate that live and not disappoint people that are coming out to see you, because we've all been in that situation where you go to see the live band and you're like, man, they don't sound anything like the record. I mean, when I was a young kid, I used to get really disappointed about that.
In a group and creating music like this, I would imagine everyone kind of has a different, I'll call it an emotional arc, an attachment to the music that they go through, and maybe Kenny's going through it faster than Mike. You're all in the song, but there comes a time when each of you is satisfied and ready to move beyond it. You, as the engineer, I would imagine, the recorder, the guy who gets lumped with all the equipment once everyone goes home, and you have to start mixing it down, you have to stay with it a bit longer. Is that a role that you appreciate or sometimes grow tired of?
Well, I think if you don't like the music, you definitely will get tired of it. But the good news is I really love this band. I love the music we make. None of us impose a song on the rest. So I think if we have a situation where maybe, and we've got some songs that we just don't even play anymore and they're in our past, and maybe one or two of us like them, or maybe three of us like them, but somebody really doesn't like it. And we don't impose that on each other, because that's kind of cruel, nobody wants to make somebody, we're not in one of these bands where, hey, it's just a hired gun and we're going to make this guy play the bass line. I don't care. I'm paying him X amount every gig, and that's what he does. We're not doing that. So I enjoy it. I really get into it. I don't mind listening, and I guess I'm a OCD kind of guy. So for me, like, I'll obsess about things. My wife, and my kid used to joke about, they knew something was up because I would be playing the same 30 seconds of the song for 2 hours, like mixing and tweaking it,
Wow.
And so, I mean, it's crazy, but that's how you get things good. And it doesn't bother me at all. That's part of why I want to do it.
So your OCD. Now, I know myself, I think I suffer from it quite a bit. And I use the term suffer lightly. It works into my life, and it manifests itself in things like record collecting and filing and different things like that. Do you have a record collection? Are you a bit of a music collector?
Yeah, my wife and I both love records. We're still, so I'm rebuilding. I think, well, I'm kind of dating myself, but before the wave of CDs really kind of put a plug on vinyl, I had a lot of records, and I moved around a lot when I was in my early 20s and 30s, and lost a lot of records, a lot of vinyl, because I said, oh well, I've got CDs, I don't need to keep all this. And at the time, it was useful because to get rid of it because I was moving and had roommates or what have you, didn't have room for all this, right? And I look back on that now and I really wish I had all that stuff back, like, boy, did I screw that up. But we've been building back, and I would say we still have a fair amount of records. I don't think I could compete with somebody like yourself, but we do love vinyl. We try to get vinyl whenever we can. And nowadays, I mean, just about everything is available for the most part if you have a artist you like.
Tell me about some of the record shops near your house. Which what are your go-to stores?
Yeah, so I would say right now we always go to Rushmore and basically Eastside Records. Sometimes they do some online shopping as well. And I would say, there aren't tons and tons of record stores in Milwaukee. There's a couple, but we try to support them.
Yeah,
absolutely.
When going into Sleepersound, now Idle Voices, I believe, is your second record, right?
Yeah.
The first one, In Media Res, it's about 5 years old now. Tell me about that album.
Well, very similar. I mean, we recorded it here, and Kramer mastered it as well. And that was our first vinyl release. We had a CD, like I guess you'd say an EP, and that came before. And then we did this. So, I mean, we definitely wanted to do vinyl because I really look at vinyl as kind of now it's the serious medium, if you're all in and you're serious about your music, you're going to put it out on vinyl.
Right.
I mean, because I don't want to sound like a jerk, but anybody can do a CD now. It's, and they don't sound as good. They just don't. You can take the same material, and for whatever reason, the science behind it, whatever, it does sound better. I'm sure I don't need to sell your audience on that idea.
Mate, you are preaching to the choir.
Right.
So going into that recording, did you do anything special or different specifically for the vinyl transfer?
We'll be back after these messages.
Hey, have you checked out AudiofileUSA.com lately? There's been a major new website redesign, and now it's even easier to search and dig for deals. AudiofileUSA.com has over 42,000 used vinyl titles in stock, all excellent and near mint condition. They sell nothing but the best condition records. And AudiofileUSA.com is not just for rare and collectible records, it's got something for everyone. All genres, from punk to pop to jazz to classical to metal to psych and more. Head over to AudiofileUSA.com, dig for the deals, fill up your cart, and use discount code THEVINYLGUIDE to save 10% off your purchase. There's something for everyone at AudiofileUSA.com. And I know that Groove Washer makes the world's best record cleaner. Hundreds of people around the world have tried it and given Groove Washer top ratings online, including Rolling Stone magazine, 5 out of 5 stars for vinyl record care. But have you seen the new Groove Washer Groove Guard record sleeves? Now you can slide your freshly cleaned record into an archival quality sleeve for short or long-term storage. I mean, why are you going to clean your records only to slide them back into the same old dirty sleeve? That's like showering and putting your dirty clothes back on. Head over to GrooveWasher.com, grab a record cleaning kit and some Groove Guard record sleeves, now at a super low introductory price, and it gets even lower with discount code VINYLGUIDE10 at checkout. That's Groove Washer Groove Guard record sleeves, GrooveWasher.com, discount code VINYLGUIDE10.
Now we return to the program already in progress.
No limits. Going into that recording, did you do anything special or different specifically for the vinyl transfer?
Yeah, well, obviously, definitely when you master, you have to take that into account. So luckily, Kramer, he mastered both albums for digital and for vinyl. Mm-hmm. So when you do that, you have to kind of be very cognizant of song placement. And you want to be cognizant of the length of each side of the record. Can't be too long because I think it's a maximum of 22 minutes on each side. And the more, if you get over that, it's very tricky. And at some point, I mean, it's just not feasible physically, I guess, for the medium to be able to take that.
Right.
So, yeah, we did work with Kramer, and he knows what he's doing. And I did a lot of studying on that too ahead of time to make sure that if we're putting out a record, we need to be realistic about what we're doing in terms of length and things of that nature.
Was there the temptation or even the construction early on of like really long pieces of music that may not have lent themselves to the vinyl format?
Yeah, our songs are really long to begin with, to be honest with you, by today's standards, right? So there's nothing on there that's really a 3-minute song. Although I guess on Idle Voices, there's 2 really short pieces, but the other songs are just the opposite. They're very long. So it wouldn't really be considered in today's world like a radio hit or anything like that. I mean, kind of prohibitive that way. But, it isn't going to surprise me if someday we wind up doing like a 2-record album, like a double LP or something, because, our songs sometimes are very long. And I think conceptually, we'd like to do things that would be orchestral, kind of moving one into the other, and, do some concept type things where maybe we do a side that's a long piece on its own, things of that nature. But we definitely think about these things. But these are all things that I'm sure some people wouldn't get into very much, and other people might. So,
well, you never know. Look, there's plenty of artists that have done full size. Pink Floyd Echoes. I think Yes has a 2-record set that has 4 songs on it. So
okay, yeah, well, exactly. So I mean, things we're doing like this are hearkening more back to those kind of things. Right. Those bands that you just named off, those were, at least for me, those were pretty influential bands in my childhood. Those were the things that got me thinking about music, among other things, but absolutely. So anytime someone says, hey, there's a little bit of Live at Pompeii going on here or something, to me, that's the biggest compliment.
Yeah. I'll take that.
Yeah, exactly. I love it.
So in preparing, we'll focus on Idle Sound. So Idle Sounds, this is self-release. So this is the band. Is the band kind of, throwing all their money into a hat to get these pressed up? Yeah?
Yeah, pretty much.
And where did you get them pressed, and how many did you get going?
So they were done at Furnace Record Pressing. They're down, I think they're in
Virginia.
Virginia. Okay, you know this better than I do.
I know the team there quite well.
Yeah. Well, they do a really good job. I mean, I think they made us sound great, in terms of the translation. So they have really good customer service. They're great. I've never had a bad interaction with them. So I guess, yeah, that's who we've been working with. We've really done 500 at a time.
Right.
So,
okay.
Yeah. So since we're just self-funding this for a small band, so if any cool indie labels listening, we're always interested in collaborating.
Oh, well, look, so you guys are self-distributing as well? Is that?
Yeah, just distributing with a very small D. We need distribution. We need everything. We're just doing this. This is all Bandcamp.
Yeah.
This is so primitive for us, really.
So one of you guys has a garage full of boxed vinyl. Is that?
Well, it's in this room right here.
Oh,
okay. my mix room, which half of it is our stock and half of it is everything else.
So I would imagine that this record was recorded. Was it pre-pandemic? It was recorded and visual. No.
So this record is a pandemic record.
Okay.
Which is pretty crazy. Which might have lent a little bit of the vibe to the record, to be quite honest. I mean, it's not completely different from our first record that we released. They're coherent with each other. You can hear Sleepersound on both, but I think some of the subject matter and everything was very timely, and sort of the emotional content of it in a weird way. Because it's not a happy record, but it's kind of reflective and sometimes maybe a little sad. I don't know. I don't know what you get out of the record, but
I find it and this is very strange. At this, it's both comforting and uncomfortable at the same time.
okay, that's good, honestly, because that's something we've kind of talked about as a band, and that we wanted to preserve because we think it usually will make people think about or draw them in a bit. It's a little more unusual, perhaps.
Yeah, it's like it's a bit of. I find myself being additionally introspective at it, aware of how the music is affecting me, and like I said, it's some of it is it's beautiful, but then some of it is I'll say emotionally provocative, but not in a angry or discomfortable way. I'm just aware that the music is having a greater effect on me than a lot of the music I listen to.
Oh, that is great compliment. We've really been successful. People can say that.
Mm-hmm.
That's really awesome.
I'm really keen to understand kind of what now. You've got this great record, and I'm assuming you've got, the reason I thought it may have been a recorded pre-pandemic is because I know vinyl production times are so long right now.
They were. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we were able to get this done because, we have our recording facility right here. Mm-hmm. And even though we were isolating, the guys, we would still work on songs. In the worst of the pandemic, we were still trading files with each other, either through iPhones or, phone recordings, or sometimes the guys, some did have like a little bit of a recording rig. And so we would still get some ideas fleshed out and keep sending. So that's one thing about us, is that we're really good about aligning with technology and using it to our advantage, So we still did that. And then when we were able to kind of be safe, we kept our bubble very small. And then honestly, like I'd say for several months, maybe even 6 months, outside of my wife, these were the only people I saw physically, like in my house. Like, so we kept it very, very closely sanitized or isolated, shall we say.
Sure.
So, I mean, we did, and that was in a way that kept me kind of kept us all a little focused, I think, on the music. So we already have our third album, like I'd say at least probably halfway done.
Okay.
So we're working on the next one already, and we want to get that done. And I think it's going to be even better. Not better, maybe. It's going to be a good album.
Is it going to be, you think it's going to be that double album with 4 songs on it or something like that?
I don't really know. It could be.
You're allowing it to be if that's what it wants to.
Right. Yeah, we're not. I mean, it probably won't be a double album, but you never know. We just have to constantly think, too, about, since we're self-funding this and everything, too, we have to be cognizant of hitting our mark, but doing it within a constraint of financial constraint, right? We don't have giant production budgets and things like that. So
sure.
I have to consider that.
Now, you're a heavily visual band. Mm-hmm. The record itself, at least Idle Sounds, the first pressing is black. Did you consider doing something unique with the vinyl, or was that just not part of the discussion at that point?
I think we didn't. I mean, we're always going to consider that. And now that you mention it, I think maybe we should reconsider it for the next album, perhaps. I think in a way, you raise a good point. And this has been it was an inner conversation that we were having about whether we should make the small runs even more unique, because someday that might be better, to have people say, hey, I've got one of 500 that's marbled, or it's glitter, or it's red, or something, So that's a good point. I mean, as long as we're producing these things in small batches, maybe that's a good idea.
Oh, and I bring that up also because I know Furnace does some amazing work with different kind of variations, and not that you need some annoying orange splatter press, but yeah. So there's like the high melt ones that again it could very well kind of complement the visual aesthetics that you guys are looking for in the live theater.
Yeah, I would agree, and I think there are things that I would like to do with the packaging too that would, in addition to the record itself, even the jacket and everything. I think it would be good to be able to someday kind of match the level of artistry that's going on the record with the packaging itself, because that's the whole point of a vinyl record anyway. Like I kind of look at it like it's the thing, it's the culmination of everything. So we've done it to this point the way we have because I think, that's our budget. But I'd like to grow that into something better, maybe even with the next stuff, and maybe have that kind of coherent aesthetic running through everything.
So if we fast forward over the next year or so, and let's assume pandemic just keeps getting better, life kind of goes back to that 2019 version of normal, right?
Right.
Do you see Sleepersound touring wider, taking the show on the road, visuals and everything? Small theaters, maybe?
That would be our aim. Honestly, what we really want to do is partner up with a good boutique small label that can help us realize some of these goals a little bit. But outside of that, we would definitely, right now it's kind of weird trying to book shows, I'll be quite honest with you, because especially with the kind of things we want to do, there's just so much variance going on from one city to the next as to whether things are kind of in a bad spot or, and we're relatively unknown. So we're just trying to really build our name so that we can actually be in the kind of places where we can project visuals and be a sustainable kind of thing coming in without major label backing or something like that. We're trying to build our name, awareness, all of those things, right?
Dan, thanks for spending the time here. Again, I'm really enjoying this album. I would encourage others to take a look at for Sleepersound. I hope to get the opportunity to be able to actually see the band at some point. The fact that you have one guy just kind of doing the visuals and, that's the full-time job and that's part of the whole immersive experience. I'm looking forward to that. I hope either I can get over to the States sometime and see you, or maybe you guys could travel abroad. Who knows? We'll see what the future holds. But anyway, let me recommend folks check out Sleepersound Idle Voices. You can get a copy at sleepersound.bandcamp.com. I believe it'll be packaged from Dan, who could probably even sign and draw on the record if you want him to. Just
Absolutely.
Say so in the notes. But again, it's a wonderful album. And again, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much, Nate.
All right, there we go. Dan from Sleepersound. And hey, those of you who are patrons of the show, patreon.com/Vinyl Guide, make sure you check your emails. All the digital invites have already gone out, and many of the physical vinyl copies have as well. And don't forget to follow Sleepersound on their social medias. And if you're not a patron, well, it's not entirely bad news. You can check out Sleepersound on your streaming media services. Check them out and support this band. And that's it for this episode of The Vinyl Guide. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please share these episodes on your social media. Share them on Facebook, tweet them out on Twitter, even share the imagery on Instagram. That's always a huge help, as are positive reviews up there on iTunes, 5 out of 5 or 10 out of 10. Say something nice, make us blush. That's always appreciated. And we'll be back shortly with a brand new episode. So until we talk next time, get out there and buy some records, people. Cheers.
That's it for this episode of The Vinyl Guide. Send your thoughts to Nate at thevinylguide.com or follow or tag us on Instagram at Vinyl Guide. Until next time, keep spinning.